from New York. Good morning, everyone. This is David Anderson. I'm the Executive Vice President of WISE. I'm joined on this webinar this morning by Ethan Finkelstein, also from WISE. And we're delighted as we come to the end of winter to share with you in this series of webinars that we do every year information about our financial literacy certification programs if you're not a participant in the program. But importantly, we also have some exciting new program features that we'd like to share with you this morning. So let's start with a very brief overview of who we are, WISE. We're a New York City-based educational nonprofit. We've been in business for 23 years, and our focus is on two areas. One is college and workplace readiness, and we have a series of programs that we offer to high schools that are designed to help students become better prepared for college and career success. Our main WISE programs in this pillar are Quality of Life Innovations and the WISE Institute. We're also the national coordinator for a program called the Euro Challenge, which is a program of the European Commission. And that's an exciting competition for 9th and 10th grade students to learn about the European Union and the single currency, the euro. The second pillar, and this is the one that we're focusing our discussion on today, is building financial literacy. And we have a suite of financial education programs that are designed to develop the financial literacy of different segments of the population. The main one being high school students. It's well known that high school students across the country are graduating without the knowledge and skills to lead a life of financial well-being. And over the past 10, 15 years, there have been a number of initiatives at state level and national level to more institutionalize the provision of financial education in high schools. And there are several states now that do require high school students to take a course on personal finance as a graduation requirement. But by no means do the majority of states have such a requirement. And we created a program that I'm going to talk about this morning that is designed to address this issue, and that we work with high schools across the country to help them develop the financial literacy of their students. We also have a program called MoneyWise, which is a financial education program for domestic violence survivors and low-income women. We have a personal finance certification for educators, where we're measuring the proficiency of teachers to teach the subject matter of personal finance, whether it's in high school or in other settings. So this suite of programs is one that we're very proud of. And this morning, I'm going to devote the bulk of the webinar to discussing our high school financial literacy certification program. So as I mentioned, the certification program supports personal finance instruction in high schools. We created this program in, if you could believe, 2002. And we ask, in a nutshell, high schools to teach a course or comprehensive unit on personal finance. And in some states, personal finance is a standalone course. In others, it's a unit that's integrated into another course, such as economics or in some cases math, etc. And we provide instructional resources to support the teachers teaching personal finance in their schools. And in a moment, I'll go through what those resources are. And at the end of the course or unit, students take our national standardized financial literacy certification test. And what's cool about this test is that students that pass become certified financially literate, and they earn our widely recognized CFL, or Certified Financially Literate credential. And it's a credential that is, as I said, widely recognized. It's one that the students are very excited to earn, and it's one that can help them on their in their search for work, on their college applications, and so on. This program started in New York City, as I mentioned, in 2001, 2002. It's now delivered nationally. We are proud to say that the program is offered at high schools in 49 states. And it's a program, the assessment, our credential, is approved by departments of education in a number of states around the country. So let's dive into what schools get when they sign up for the program. And there are 4 ingredients to the program. And I'm going to start at 3 o'clock, professional development. We are not, we don't spend a huge amount of time providing professional development. There are other organizations around the country whose business is devoted to teacher training. We support teacher training in personal finance around the country. We also provide our own teacher training to a limited degree. As an example, we in most years, we host an annual conference called the Money Power Conference, and that's a day of professional development for teachers to learn about, or to get content training and methods training about personal finance. We host webinars periodically throughout the school year in which we get presenters to come and also share content about personal finance. Sometimes we'll have teachers deliver a webinar presentation on a particular lesson plan that they're excited about relating to personal finance. We also support, as I mentioned, professional development offered by partner agencies throughout the country. There are a number of organizations that, whether it's in the summer or throughout the school year, provide week-long, 3 or 4 day-long professional development institutes, training sessions, and so on personal finance. And we partner with these agencies to offer our certification in personal finance exam. And so at the end of a week-long training on personal finance offered by a partner agency, we will administer our certification test. And so teachers that are concluding that institute have an opportunity to become certified. So there's a degree of professional development that we offer. Now let me go to 12 o'clock, instructional resources. And this is an important piece of the support we provide to schools. At the center of the support is a teacher's guide. And this is a comprehensive roadmap of the topics that teachers should cover as they teach the course or unit on personal finance. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you some of the topics that are included in the teacher's guide. It's a very much a document about what has to be covered, not how. So the teacher's guide does not include an inventory of lesson plans and so on. It's very much a roadmap of the topics that need to be covered from the start of a course on personal finance to the end, or a unit. What we do have, though, is secondly, a resources directory that does contain a very large library of resources that schools, teachers can use to help them create their lesson plans. It includes apps, it includes interactive simulations, it includes game-based tools, it includes access to websites that have content relating to specific personal finance topics. And we have links to now, I think, close to 400 of these websites. Almost all of them are offered at no cost. And we encourage schools to use the resources directory as a toolkit for helping them develop their lesson plans. And so in combination, the teacher's guide is the roadmap of the topics that need to be taught, and the resources directory is a toolkit that helps them create the means to deliver the instruction. Another resource we have is an inventory of or a database of practice tests. And we're going to devote the latter part of this workshop to a brand new platform of practice tests that we have just launched. But the idea is that during the instruction, teachers want to have their students take practice tests, practice quizzes, and so on to help reinforce the instruction on a given topic. And so we have this database of practice quizzes, practice tests on the topics that are taught during a course or unit on personal finance. And at the end of a unit or during a unit even, say on banking or credit or saving, investing, the students can take practice tests, practice quizzes to reinforce what they've just learned in the classroom. And as I said, we've got this brand new platform and mobile app that Ethan is going to talk about in a few moments that we launched just a couple of weeks ago. So it's those three things mainly that we provide in terms of instructional support: the teacher's guide, a resources directory, and a database and mobile app of practice tests and quizzes. Then at 6 o'clock, we have our assessments. And there are two. We have a pre-test and a certification test. The only thing we ask schools to do when they sign up to participate in our program is that we do say, you need to administer our certification test as part of your participation in the program. We do not require schools to administer our pre-test. We have an optional pre-test. We encourage schools to administer our pre-test, but it's not required. And so the pre-test obviously benchmarks student knowledge going into the course or unit personal finance, and the certification tests measures their knowledge after instruction. And so it's a very nice combination for schools to do both, so that teachers can see how student knowledge is improved over the course of the instruction that the students have received. So we do strongly encourage pre-testing. About 70% of the schools we work with actually do use our pre-test, but as I said, it's an optional tool, not a required tool. And then finally at 9 o'clock, we have awards and recognition. It's very important for us as a way of, in a sense, saying thank you to the schools that work with us, to recognize teachers and schools for the great job that you and they are doing to develop the financial literacy of your and their students. And so in a moment, I'll share with you exactly what the different types of recognition and award tools we have. So it's those four pillars: professional development, instructional resources, a standardized assessments, and awards and recognition. So I mentioned a moment ago that our teacher's guide has or details the topics that you and schools cover during a course or unit on personal finance. And this is a very high-level summary of those topics. And what I think should be encouraging to you and is encouraging to us is that none of these topics should come as a surprise. Our teacher's guide, the topics contained in our teacher's guide, are aligned to national and state standards on personal finance. And the good news about personal finance is that more or less nationwide, the content standards that departments of education have developed for schools to teach personal finance are generally the same. You know, whether you're in Nevada or Idaho or California or New York, a course or unit in personal finance is going to cover budgeting, interest, banking, credit, insurance, investing, and so on. And so, again, we're not asking schools to develop a whole set of new topics to cover. these are the topics that if you're teaching personal finance, you're already covering. And so we're simply providing a roadmap, a detailed roadmap of these topics to support your instruction. Our test is both online and we still offer a paper-based option. I would say that more than 90% of the schools we work with now do use our online platform. It's secure, it's user-friendly, it's very elegant, it's state-of-the-art technology. It has many different features that we're happy to share with you. It has accommodation and other features as well. But it has a very nice reporting element to it. And so this is an example of the score report that both you as the educator as well as the students receive upon completion of our test. And obviously, if you use the online test, scores are immediately available. So whether you're doing pre-testing as well as certification testing, the score report is the same. You get an overall score. For the certification test, obviously you get a passing rate. There is no passing rate on the pre-test, but there is a breakdown of the score into the different major topic categories, such as money management, which is topic A, that includes budgeting, financial planning, and so on, banking and savings, which is included in topic B, credit, topic C, insurance investing, topic D. And so you as the instructor can see not only at the high level how your students are performing in terms of their overall score, but you can also see how they're performing in each of these four major subcategories. And in addition to that, you can see as the educator, and students can see this as well, the individual student score compared to the school average. And so, and that's very helpful for you and the students to see, this is how I perform relative to the overall class, the overall school, etc. So it's a very nice score report that you can generate. If you do pre-testing, it's particularly nice because you can see, you can compare scores, again, at the overall level and at the subtopic level between the pre-test and the certification test. And so you can measure the growth of student knowledge between the pre and the post in these four categories as well as overall. So I mentioned that recognition is a very important piece of what we offer, and it really is. The students that pass our test are recognized as becoming certified financially literate, and so they are graduating with a demonstrated knowledge of personal finance. But we also recognize teachers and schools for the, as I mentioned earlier, the great performance that you and they achieve in terms of helping your students graduate financially literate. We have Gold Star teachers. We have Blue Star schools. For the first time this year, we've introduced a new category of recognition called Platinum schools. And I'm not going to go through in today the criteria that you need to achieve to earn the status of Gold Star teacher or Blue Star school or Platinum school. We could certainly share these criteria with them, they're public. But these three areas of recognition are very important for you, for us, and it's helpful for a school to know that it has Blue Star. It has a Blue Star school status, Platinum school status. It has Gold Star teachers in it. We announce the Gold Star teachers, the Blue Star schools, the Platinum schools. We announce these typically at our annual conference, and so it's a really important part of the opening ceremony of the conference, to say thank you, well done, and to provide this recognition. We have financial literacy scholars, and these are students whose test score on our certification test is in excess of 95%. So these are really students that have excel on our test, and we give them the name financial literacy scholars. And these scholars are eligible to apply for our annual Financial Literacy Ambassadors Award. And this is it's a competitive award. Students who earn 95% or higher on our certification test, as I said, are eligible to apply for the award. They have to write an essay with several parts, there's a several part essay. They submit their essay questions with a letter of reference from their school to us. The applications are judged through a 3-round judging process, and there are 5 Ambassador Award winners each year, and each of the 5 students earns a cash prize of $1,000, which is very generously sponsored by a group called the FLO Mentors. It's a group of young professionals from Wall Street who are really passionate about personal finance, and they're willing to provide some of their own personal funds to sponsor the award. So there are 5 winners. Each winner earns a monetary award of $1,000. So it's something that we really enjoy, and it's very special. The Ambassador Award winners are typically informed at the end of July, early August, and the application window will open at the beginning of April. And then last but not least, we have an annual ranking of the 100 best WISE high schools teaching personal finance. And this is a ranking that we created in 2013 to recognize the schools of excellence, of true excellence in our national network. And in April every year, which is Financial Literacy Month, we hold a ceremony sponsored by Voya Financial, at which we announce the 100 best high schools from the previous school year. Prior to COVID, this ceremony was held either at the New York Stock Exchange or the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. During COVID, and I think this year as well, we have offered or hosted the ceremony virtually. It's a very special occasion. We have not only a ranking of the 100 top schools overall in our network, but we also recognize the best small schools, the best medium-sized schools, the best large schools in our national network. And the ranking is based predominantly on student scores on our certification test from the previous year, but we also give some weight to the size of the school, as well as the schools that are in underserved neighborhoods around the country. So that is a summary of the program. We're very proud of the program. It's grown very nicely over the years, and we're here to support you and hope that you'll consider signing up for the program. If not this year, then certainly in 2022, 2023. But with that, I'd like to turn over now to Ethan, because this year we've introduced, well, each year we introduce new features to keep the program fresh, to enhance the quality and substance of the program. But this year we're very proud because there are 2 or 3 new features that are particularly exciting. And so with that, I will say thank you and turn over to Ethan.
Thank you very much, David. And so for this year in 2021, 2022, for our financial literacy certification program, we have a host of new features to help supplement the program itself. And so I'd like to take some time to talk about those today. First, we have a new feature that is currently being developed and will soon be available for production called Bring Your Own Proctor. This is a supplement to virtual proctoring in that it is a built-in virtual proctoring interface that proctors can now use without the need for outside video conferencing services. So no longer will you need Google Meet, Zoom, anything of the sort. The video proctoring service will be integrated into the online testing program. We also have now a new practice testing app and website, as David had previously mentioned on this webinar, which brings a new bank and database of practice testing questions and provides access now to students at any point through their mobile device, as well as detailed and comprehensive feedback for teachers on the website component. And we'll be talking more about that as well coming up. We also have support at any point throughout the year. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach back out to us here at WADS. My contact information will be at the end of this presentation. And we also have our wonderful team at ITS Internet Testing Service Systems who may be available for questions if there's any emergencies or technical troubleshooting that may need to be done. So with that, I'd like to actually start talking about BYOP first. So as I mentioned, it is now integrated with the online testing environment. And so instead of needing to connect with students both for the session itself for testing and a separate session as well for video feed on like a Zoom, a Google Meet, a Microsoft Teams, that second element no longer needed. And in addition to that, it allows proctors to go through our secure browser. And so you can lock down the screens while also virtually proctoring the students this way. New features allow for proctors to be able to communicate with students one-on-one in the event that there's any sort of issues that may come up, or if you need to just ping a student individually as opposed to notifying the whole session. We also have the ability for teachers to flag student tests for further review, just to note them without raising any sort of attention to anyone else in the system. And on top of that, we have the ability for teachers to record if necessary and be able to rewind in case there's any sort of internal audit that needs to be done on sessions. And on top of that, as always, you have the ability to start, pause, and resume student testing within the integrated feature. This is something that already exists outside of this environment, but of course will be provided with the BYOP system as well. And so just to quickly show everyone here what that interface is going to look like for the proctor end. As you can see, you have a screen on the left-hand side, which will show the proctor screen, and on the bottom, the student that they're individually connected with potentially. On the right-hand side, you'll see 6 student panels. These feature essentially what the grouping of students will look like to the proctor. They can address them as a whole or individually, depending on what selections they pick. For more information on this feature for BYOP, and once it will go live, feel free to reach back out to us. I'd be happy to provide additional details on this program initiative or feature once it's released to production. But for that, I'd like to bring you actually to the main part of our additions to the program in 2021-2022, and we're very excited about this. It's our brand new practice testing website and app. And so for this, as I mentioned before, teachers will now have the ability to assign practice tests and quizzes to students using the online platform, which is built into the existing one that we already have for pre and certification testing. And so this is an example that you'll see on your screen right now of the assignment selection screen, where teachers can pick and choose what types of quizzes and practice tests they'd like to assign to students. And then on the next slide, we'll see an example of a basically class in the system. And for that class, essentially teachers will see a listing of students in that roster. They'll be able to see what assignments the students have completed. They'll also be able to get a brief summary of statistics at the bottom of the screen. And on top of that, they'll be also able to click into individual students to see a history of quizzes and practice tests, to be able to also get feedback for any of those students throughout, which is a brand new feature that we have with practice testing. I know in the past, a lot of teachers had come to us asking to be able to see that feedback. And so now that we can provide that, teachers will be able to get in real time a great understanding of how their students are really grasping materials, and they'll be able to respond accordingly with perhaps assignments throughout the term period. And so just another view of what teachers will see for individual assignments. Right here, we have a sample screen of specifically a banking quiz. And what you'll see is a list of student names. You'll also see to the right of those student names a bunch of dates, those being the assignments that were assigned to each of those students. You'll see a distribution of scores, which are typically out of 15. And on the bottom, you'll also be able to see averages across the class, as well as the individual scores for each of the students above that. And so these are part of scheduled assignments. We also have something called anytime assignments, which teachers can provide students access to at any point without any sort of deadline. And so on the next page, we'll be able to see what the students see. And so this is what a student will see when they go into the website component for the first time upon registering an account. And so you'll see that there are a list of classes underneath. And so for that, you'll see assignments, or rather the student will see assignments. They will have the ability to go in and complete those assignments, either being a practice quiz or a practice test. And they will also be able to, once they're completed, see their score report with feedback as well. And so we have an app component to go with the website, which is nice in the sense that students, even outside of the classroom, can still access WISE quizzes for practice at any point they see fit. And so we'll be going into that in just a moment in terms of what students will see for each of those screens. And so on this first screen, you'll see that this is essentially what the quiz will look like from a question functionality standpoint. Students will have the same multiple choice question format as they have been in the past, provided for the practice test and quizzes. And so essentially, as we see here, student answered first question, checked off their answer for that, they will be able to essentially go through these and get feedback for each of these questions. And here is a summary screen essentially at the end of a quiz. And it tells you immediately how many the student had gotten correct. And then the student is also able to go back and look at each of the questions that they had answered to get the rationale for each of those, whether they had answered correctly or incorrectly. So an example of that is here. The student had answered a question. It appears that perhaps they had answered it incorrectly. And so it shows what the correct answer is and explains with the rationale below, which is a summary of why the question is, answered the way it's supposed to be answered there. For further details on this practice testing app, including any sort of pricing questions you may have, setup instructions, registration information, I would encourage everyone here to reach out to us at any point. My contact information is on the screen. If you also have any general questions about the WISE Financial Literacy Certification Program on a whole, absolutely feel free to reach out with those questions as well. I am our program manager for financial literacy. David, our executive vice president, is so kindly been able to provide an overview of that today. But for any deep technical questions, I'm available anytime at efinkelstein@wise-ny.org. That is our organizational number, 212-421-2700. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or bring to clarification to anything that wasn't covered in more detail in this presentation at a further time. Anyway, thank you for joining us here today for this financial literacy certification overview webinar. And my name is.
Let me just echo that. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your support if you are participating in the program. If you're not participating in the program, we really encourage you to think about signing up. It's not too late to sign up for this spring semester, but please, in any case, consider signing up to participate in the program for the next school year. So thank you very much for your time today, and have a wonderful morning and afternoon.
Thank you.